everybody, this is Gayle. Welcome to my Tuesday Travel Trivia live stream. Today we're going to be talking about Kentucky, all different kinds of tips for how to find cheap and free things to do in Kentucky. But we're also going to be talking about some trivia. I'm going to be giving away some shout outs today, so sit back and relax and just have a good time. We're going to be here probably for about an hour. I usually try to keep the live stream about an hour. Let me go ahead and make sure we post this on our Facebook group. And that address is www.facebook.com/group/Gayle Vlogs, GaylEVlogs. You can also find me on Twitter at Gayle Vlogs, as well as on Instagram. Same deal. Instagram.com/GaylEVlogs. The strange spelling, of course, is courtesy of my mother. Here's some shots that I have taken on my travels. Please check out my Instagram feed for more. And let's get back to this Bodacious Travel Tuesday Trivia live stream. And I have gotten a tweet that has come in. Let me see what this is. Give me just a second to check this out. This is from a user named Gloria. You may have recognized her name from some of our Saturday night live streams. She's going to be streaming this one off and on her phone and says Merry Christmas. So, hi Gloria. Merry Christmas to you too. Welcome to this Bodacious live stream. A lot of people are going to be taking trips during the break, whether you call them Christmas holidays or winter break. That's why we're going to be talking about some tips and tricks for how to find cheap or free things to do when you're on that break. And of course, we are going to be talking about Kentucky. Now, of course, we know that Kentucky is like the horse capital of the world. But other Kentucky attractions include Civil War sites, a car manufacturing tours, dynamic state parks, a huge national park that covers portions of 3 states, tons of historic markers and interesting sites, Amish stores, shopping, a tuition-free and artsy Berea College in Berea, University of Kentucky and associated attractions, the world's largest ceiling clock, all kinds of statues in Lexington alone, horse racing tracks, and lots more. Now let's talk about how we're going to find some of these free and cheap things to do in Kentucky. Now, part of what we're going to talk about is a recent trip that I made to Lexington, Kentucky, where we found several things to do that were free or cheap. First, let me do some shout outs for last week. And last week, Fairyana Vlogs was in, and she got a shout out, so go by and see her channel. Get time. And also check out Iron Fire Horse, because Irene was in here also. These are the 2 that won shout outs. All of those, I want to say hi. We have Crimson Fantasy today. Hi Crimson, how are you doing? I hope your day is going well. For some reason my computer is going much more slowly than what I would like. Crimson, have you ever been to Kentucky? Because that's what we're going to be talking about today. Yeah, I have the day off, so catching up on videos and relaxing. It's good you had a great trip. Yeah, I always have a great time in Kentucky. It's one of those places where you really are going to have to work hard at it not to have a good time. Because there are tons and tons of things to see and do and enjoy and be a part of. And a lot of them are pretty cheap. Kentucky does not have to be an expensive place to go visit. Crimson Fantasy says, I would love to visit the States. I live in Canada. Candy the Wee Service Dog has arrived. Hi, Candy the Wee Service Dog. And she says she's been to Kentucky. All right, all right. Well, good deal. So most of this is going to focus on Lexington. But we also, I'm not going to rule out, we might also touch on Berea, Kentucky, or Louisville, even Paris, Kentucky, which is a little tiny town. I may touch on some of that. But first, I really wanted to go over some tips and tricks for finding cheap or inexpensive things to do, some of my best ideas there. And I used to work in the travel industry, in addition to being a travel writer and in addition to doing this channel. So I feel like I can take some of what I learned from that and bring that into the mix. Besides, I'm kind of addicted to travel. You all probably already knew. Kentucky has got, like I said, a lot of things going for it. There's major interstates that run through it. You can order an official map of Kentucky, or you can download one. You can also pick one up at any of the welcome centers and some of the rest areas. They make a good souvenir for the trip. Camp Wildcat is a Confederate site in Kentucky. It's off of Interstate 75, Kentucky exit 49. You pretty much just follow the signs. There's no fee and also no services. We did see the information kiosk while we were there and were able to pull some information about Camp Wildcat. But the actual road going up to the camp is rutted if it's after rain because it's dirt. But once you get up to the Civil War area, you can look down the hill. You can actually see the terrain, and that's where soldiers trenched in. So if you ever go, that's a very interesting thing. But what caught us off guard, and this is going to be a trivia question here in just a few minutes, we were coming up and we kind of rounded this little corner. There, right there in front of us, munching, was this cow. I took this photo of the cow at Camp Wildcat after it finished meandering across the road and going to its feed bucket that you see right there. Yeah, there we were. There was the cow. Interesting little situation. And let's see, Candy, the wee service dog, says that Kentucky's 5 minutes from her because she lives in Cincinnati, and that she went to the ARC encounter 10 days ago. Did you enjoy your ARC encounter? All right, so some of the ways that you can find cheap and free things to do, I applied to our trip to Lexington, Kentucky. Think first about what kind of things are free or cheap in your area. And this usually revolves around things like city or state parks, sometimes national parks, sometimes not. We'll talk about that in a minute. Universities and colleges can have museums, displays, and or events that you can go to. Mariana blogs, hi and welcome. And she's pointing out that libraries are free, and we're actually going to talk about that with the Lexington Library. And let's see, Candy's saying about the art container, it does cost, but it's huge and there's a lot to see, and they have a great buffet. That's important to remember. Sometimes you will go to a place and there won't be food for miles, especially if you're talking about going to a national park or a state park. You always want to think about that. So the tip that Candy just gave us about the buffet at the ARC encounter is a very, very good one. Mariana mentioned the library. When I was doing some research on Kentucky about free and cheap things to do, one of the things that popped up was the Central Library. Well, the Central Library in Lexington has the world's largest ceiling clock. At 5 stories high, the ceiling clock in the Lexington Central Library is the world's largest. And it has a Foucault pendulum. Foucault pendulums are noteworthy because they swing with the Earth's rotation. It's something that not many people in the world will see because they won't think to put a library on their list of free and cheap things to do when they're visiting Lexington. You wouldn't necessarily put. The other thing about it is there's usually a charge for parking to go to the downtown area. But by going to the library, you can have your parking ticket validated. And not only do you get to see the ceiling clock, but you get 2 hours of free parking. Candy the wee service dog says St. Mary's Cathedral Basilica of the Assumption is in northern Kentucky. See, there you go. And put churches on your list too. Now, not everybody is interested in religion, and I get that. But churches, especially older churches, have architectural elements, artwork, because that's what the murals are, stained glass windows or pieces of glass, artwork there. You can enjoy those from an aesthetic point of view, even though you may not necessarily be religious. So churches, the cathedrals, often interesting places to go visit, especially a lot of them also have a historic element to them. For example, in Tennessee, which I know we're talking about Kentucky, but I'm just going to pick on this particular church because I know it best. In Tennessee, in the very, very small town of Riceville, there is a older church, 1906 established. Fortunately, that church has closed, but it's my understanding from what I was told that there used to be Confederate sharpshooters on that hill all around the church, protecting a creek or water source nearby. So you can visit that church for the historic aspect of what's happened there, even though you may not be religious. Churches, cathedrals, basilicas, which are similar to cathedrals except the Pope has been there. Parks, city, state, national. The state of Kentucky website says that they do not charge admission fees for their state parks. However, this can always change, so take a few minutes and peruse the website parks.ky.gov right before you go and just make sure that there has been no changes. Kentucky is home to one of the larger national parks in the U.S. And we're talking about Cumberland Gap National Historic Park. And that park really takes up portions of Tennessee, Virginia, and Kentucky. There is a cave tour that you can take. It's $8. You can visit the settlement. It's $10, but there is no entrance fee. So if you want to hike or explore the park, check out the history, you don't have to pay for that. Let me jump back to the chat room. Candy, the wee service dog, has something she's wanting to say. Candy is saying the church has historical value. So I'm going to actually pull this up, assuming the internet will cooperate with me this morning. We have Granny Monster in. Hi, Granny Monster. How are you? She says, greetings, Gayle. I've enjoyed a bodacious and delicious breakfast and wanted to get here to wish you all a good morning. So good morning, Granny Monster. Okay, this is still working on coming in. We'll give it a minute there. So in Kentucky, you've got some Revolutionary War history. You have got some Civil War history. Candy's saying the William Howard Taft National Historic Site in Cincinnati. Yeah, Cincinnati's just across the river there from Kentucky. And of course, Lexington Racetrack, they've also got a lovely park. I'm going to pull that up in Lexington. And this park is free because that's what we're concentrating on, is free and cheap. The Basilica tab is still loading. We'll get that another minute there to do its thing. I don't know why the internet is running so slowly today. But here we are at Thoroughbred Park. This is a free park in downtown Kentucky. So if you go downtown and you go to the public library, get your ticket stamped, you got 2 hours. So see the clock, go to the bookstore, because you got to go to a used bookstore, just saying. And then about 5 blocks down, so it is a little bit of a walk, but about 5 blocks down, you come to Thoroughbred Park. It has got these statues, which are about half size. And again, that's free. Might want to take a picnic because food is a little hard to get to. And here's a photo I wanted to show you with the baby horse. This is where you can say, "Aw, isn't it cute?" Now, let me double check this Basilica tab and see if it's open yet. Greg Over is in. Hi, Greg Over. How are you? I hope you are doing well today. I hope you're having a bodacious day. Going over to Berea. Berea, Kentucky is a college town, and along with that college town, you have kind of an artsy vibe. Berea College was set up to provide free tuition to students who may not be able to go to college. So you either get admitted to the school, and it's an automatic scholarship with no tuition, or they simply don't admit you. The annual Christmas concert is one of the programs that Berea College has that's open to the public. It's very, very difficult to get tickets, and they do limit it to 4 tickets. So if you go, make sure you book early. There is a live stream that you can catch, but tickets are like $5. Well worth it for the Christmas concert. Berea also has these large hands. It is part of their Arts in Public Places program, and there are displays all over the city that are for the arts. Here's a list on the Visitor Center website, visitberea.com/art is this page. Well worth it. They're free. Just meander through the town and take in the sights. Candy saying Kentucky's Folk Art Center is free if you love art, located on the campus of Morehead State University, and it's free. Excellent point. And Granny says, Gayle or Candy, do you know if they still name a Duke of Paducah? I do not know if they still do that. I know Paducah has a giant quilt festival every year. Thank you, Fairy Anna. I appreciate that. That reminder to please thumbs up and share. But I'll have to double check to see if they still do a Duke. That is a good question. Okay, now here's a question for a shout out. And Granny, you weren't in here, so but I've got another question here coming up in a minute. The question for the shout out. What happened to my daughter and I at Camp Wildcat? What did we almost hit in the road? I'm going to let you guys think about that. I found the website for the Basilica that Candy had mentioned, so let me share this. And you guys can be thinking about what happened to my daughter and I we almost hit that was in the road. Now, here's the Basilica. There's no charge to go in. You just have to be very respectful. And if you are there during a worship service, please take time to read the paperwork that you're given, the pamphlet. And here we go. I'm just bringing this up very quickly. And you can see that it is an incredible church. Before you go, download the tour brochure for lots of information. To give you an idea of the stained glass windows, it's in the brochure, but take a minute and familiarize yourself with the layout of the church, with the narthex and the tower and the garden. And that way, if you download this before you go and look at it, you'll have a finer appreciation of what you see when you get there. And Candy, the wee service dog, I appreciate you for bringing that up. Anybody guessed what we almost hit? Okay, I don't see an answer on what we almost hit. I'll give you a hint. Free range. But some kind of animal, and it's not a chicken. It's a very large animal. And it's not a deer. This is a domesticated animal. Camp Wildcat. Granny says, what did they hit? I've told a couple of exes to hit the bricks, but I don't think that can be right. Nope, not right. This is a critter. Okay. Time's up. The critter that we almost hit at Camp Wildcat was a cow. Going up the road to the Confederate Historic Site there, rounded the curve there in the middle of the road was a cow calmly munching at the side of the road. But where a lot of cows are on the grassy side, munching on the grass, this one was on the road. So it was pretty much blocking our lane, except this is essentially a one-lane road that's a little bit wider just to give a little space for the cars to pass each other. Granny says, LOL, move over, please. Yes, yes, yes. So, okay. Next up is I want to talk to you about the racetracks, specifically Keeneland, which is in Lexington. Now, if you go to Lexington, go to Keeneland, and they can give you a brochure. You can have either a self-guided tour, following the brochure, or you can wait and you can pay a tour guide. I'm not sure how much it is on the tour guide, but you can hoof it. Ha ha! Did you see what I did there? Horse track hoof. Okay, so that was a terrible joke. But you can take the tour. They'll give you the brochure. And Keeneland Racetrack has got a fascinating history. Large parking lot, of course, no problems parking. You do have to do some walking, and the tours take place rain or shine. They have a grounds map. I'm going to pull this up too. But that's one of the free things to do over in the Lexington area. See if I can pull this up. There is also a car plant in Kentucky, and I have not gotten to do this yet. Dress fancy to watch the races. You better believe it. That's a big thing. Okay, so we have, this is about the grounds of Keeneland. And let me just warn you, this gift shop is high end, okay? Very high end gift shop. But here are the grounds. You can see but the parking area is large and you can park pretty close to the racetrack. But familiarize with yourself. Don't just go to any particular site and wander around. You will waste time and you will drive yourself crazy. That's the entrance sign to the visitor center. So go in and talk to your visitor center folks, but they can answer all your questions. And Granny's saying, as a public speaker from back in the day, stopping at a visitor center can also help gear your work towards that area. True. And Candy's answering the question, yes, they do dress up at the races, especially the big outrageous hats. I have friends that do that. Oh, cool. I forgot about the hats. I may have to see if I can find one. Maybe we can have a Bodacious live stream in honor of the race in May, and we can all wear fancy hats. Okay, but start at the visitor center and look for the parks, the city parks, the state parks. Also talk to the folks at the visitor center or look it up online to see if there's any walking tours. A walking tour, usually of the downtown area, that will give you a deeper perspective of the town, whether you're in Lexington or Louisville or Berea or any town across the U.S. Also take into account historic markers. For example, and again, this is Lexington, and there might be a question about this in a minute. This is a fairness ordinance. Okay, so July 8, 1999, I'm just going to read it. Fayette County outlawed discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity in housing, employment, and public accommodations. This groundbreaking countywide ordinance was the first in Kentucky to provide these protections. So it's the first in Kentucky. You might not have known this had you not spent a couple of minutes online researching historic markers. I thought that was fascinating. Yay, YouTube sent out notifications. Granny just got her notification that we are alive and well. There you go. That's funny. But hey, better late than never, right? Yes, crazy late is what Candy the Wee Service Dog is calling it. Absolutely. But you got it. Okay, so for a shout out, what was the name of that ordinance? We just talked about it on the photo. Something ordinance. What have we got here? Fairness. Tanya Lambert got it. So Tanya, you will get a shout out. And I'm going to put it down in the next video. So I hope this has helped you guys identify some things in your travels that you can do that are free or cheap. What other suggestions do you all have? Tanya says it makes me wonder what's around here. Granny Monster says, in Kentucky, there's a big mall, or once there was in Florence. Is it still there? This does still look like it's a pretty active mall. So there you go. Granny says, did Tomlin just learn to whistle, or am I hearing things? No, he's not a whistler. He talks, or he thinks he talks. Huskies make those vocalizations. He does that, but no whistles from him. Thank you all so much for coming out. I hope you all have a bodacious day. Any other suggestions that you have, leave them down in the comment section. So thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. I hope you have a bodacious day. Always, always, always Hashtag be bodacious, so don't let life get in the way of living. And check out these videos that are popping up on the screen for travel, service dogs, products reviews, and more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell for all the notifications. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at our next Travel Tuesday trivia at 10 a.m. Eastern Time right here.